Alright, let's start with a demonstration on how to use Snort. First of all, Snort is an intrusion detection system. Set this up on our network to know when people are coming in and not being very nice. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is you need to go to this website. It's snort.org. This is the collaborative website for the Snort product itself. From this website, we're going to need to get two different files. So we're going to go ahead here and do the whole download Snort. The process I'm going to show you is for installing on a Windows machine. It's very different for Linux and others. Can find, save. Obviously you'd want to save it. I already have it, so I'm not going to download it again. The second portion of what you're going to need to get off of this site, let's go back to the home page here, is rules. The rules is what allows Snort to know what traffic is good, what traffic is bad. These rules are editable. However, you need to start with the foundational base. There's two different ways to get rules. One way is free, one way is not. The fashion that I'm going to be showing you is the free way. Okay, so now we're here. We're on the rules page. Like I said, there's two different ways to get rules. We have both our subscriber and our registered user. If you're doing this for a business in a production environment, obviously you're going to want to pay and get the subscriber release. You can see here this video, these files are only 5 days old, whereas the ones that we have access to as a free user are almost a month old. Some things come out, some things don't. Here we need to match the version of Snort rules with the version that we have downloaded. So the version I have is the 29.12, so this will be the one that you'll want. Obviously it says I need to be logged in. You will have to create an account to be able to download that. But then once you have that downloaded, let's go and open that up. You'll get a box here. This is where I had downloaded all those files previously. You can see here we have our Snort rules, our 2912. We also have our Snort 2912 installer. As you can see, there's nothing in these Snort rules that I can install. It needs to be a file to install in order to get this up and running. What we'll need to do is go to the Snort 2912 installer and add the .exe extension onto the end of it. I'm not exactly sure why Snort does this, however this is what they do. Just like any other program here, obviously we're going to want to run this now. Go ahead and run that, get it installed. It's I agree. On the new version you have three options. It's I plan to log to a database. I do not plan to log to a database. I am logging to a SQL server or an Oracle server. I do not have a SQL or Oracle server to work with, so I am going to not log to a database. Also, on this computer, IPv6 is disabled. These are the different modules you can install. It's fine to just install all of them, and we're still only talking less than 16 megabytes. So keep this default installation folder. It'll make your life a lot easier. It'll put everything inside of a Snort folder on the C drive. Obviously, next. Show details, close, completed. You'll get this error warning that warns you about WinPCAP 4.1.1 be installed. I already have this installed, and if you've ever run Nmap or Wireshark, you will also. Okay, so now let's go ahead and pull up a command prompt here. And we're going to go ahead and just go to that folder. So it was the C Snort folder, and by default, let me go ahead and show you this here. It is in the C drive and then the Snort folder. So this is everything that we need to run it. The actual executable file is sitting in the bin. Here is our snort.exe program. However, right now that will not run. We have to go into our etc folder, and there's this file called snort.config. I'm going to go ahead and open that with WordPad. It portrays the file in the cleanest environment. Obviously now you can see it has changed it. So here is our snort.config file. This is what tells Snort how to run, what to run, where to run. Let me go ahead and pull out one that I made and we'll compare a little bit of differences, and I'll show you what I ended up doing to it to make that one run. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone and gotten my snort file. It is the msnort.config. So let's go ahead and open that one up now with WordPad. And you'll see basically here what I've done. This is all information on the top portion. The bottom portion, you have this section right here that will tell you what you're setting in each individual portion of this file. This first line here specifies the home network address. If we're in a business environment, obviously this will be the address range of all the computers that we are trying to protect. If we have DNS servers, SMTP servers, obviously you'd put all those addresses in here. Basically by doing that, it allows Snort to know those computers, and it might handle the packets they send and receive a little bit differently than it would a standard desktop. These are the ports we run our web servers on. These obviously can all be changed. This entire file is editable. The biggest thing to get you up and running right in the beginning is you need to make sure all of these, anywhere it specifies a file path. Obviously this has been ported over from a Linux-based system. The file paths do not agree with Windows, so you need to make sure we go in, do our C snort rules. These are what we would use as our decoders / event logs. The other very large thing, when you first open this file, it will not allow it to run. All of these var tags here that you can see at the beginning of all these lines, and also a little bit further down in the document, come in as Linux as ipvar tags. Ipvar tags are not recognized by the Windows version of Snort. So, now that I've shown you that, that's the boring part. Make that work, you're good to go. Go ahead and save that. So now we have our C snort, etc. with msnort config. So let's go ahead and test out our snort config file and see if we can't start working. The first command I'm going to do is the snort-w. This goes through my computer and finds all of the IP addresses and all of my NICs. You'll need this information later. Obviously I'm running one network card, and you can see it there with my physical address. That is the card, and the index number is 1. That index number is going to become very important here in just a minute. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run the entire snort file in a test mode. So we're going to go ahead, run it in the console mode so that we can see what it's doing. Here we specify the I tag and 1. The I is for the interface. That is the interface that we just found above. Obviously I'm going to be using my network card 1 since that's the only one I have. The -c command is the file location of your snort.exe file. So obviously mine is C, might help if I put the colons in, C : snort, etc. And I'm sorry, I need to take a step back. This is actually the location of the config file. So I now need to get my msnort.config, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what the -l command for. The -l command is so that you log. Obviously when we installed this, we did not install it to log to a SQL or Oracle server, so this won't work in the meantime. However, I'm going to go ahead and show you that command anyhow, because if you were doing this in a public environment, you would be installing and logging to a server. So here's the location that I choose to put my log files. This obviously is not a valid location because it's not a SQL server, but you get the idea. You would put in the database path. Last but not least, I'm going to do a -t. That -t puts the entire configuration into test mode. Let's go ahead and see what it does. Okay, here's what we want to look for. In the very beginning, you can see it's initializing snort, running in test mode. This is very important to watch. We can see here our plugins. It picked up the msnort.config file. Here's all the ports it will be running on. And the most important thing after the completed initialization is we want to make sure it validated the configuration file successfully. If it did not validate that file, you will not be running snort. So let's go ahead, I'll drop that command back in. And now that that has been tested, it's been validated, it's been proved, we have our correct addresses in. I'm going to go ahead and remove that -t tag. So now I'm going to run snort in console mode so that when I quit, obviously I'll be able to see what I've been able to capture. And then I'm running it on interface 1 with the configuration file of the msnort-config. And I'm going to, right now, fake log to the csnort log folder. Here we see it running. Obviously we have the initialization complete, and last time you noticed this is where it stopped. It initialized and said, hey, the packet's fine, the configuration's fine, don't need to worry about it. Well, now we have the commencing packet processing. I have my PID of 2324 in case I need to see what this program is doing in the background. So while that's doing that, let's go ahead and browse a website or two. So I'm going to go to Google, and probably it's going to get really cranky. No, it's not too bad. And let's say we are going to find the snort page. Obviously there's our snort.org. That's the home page we visited earlier. You'll see that load up in a second. We're back to square one. Now that I've created some traffic, let's go ahead and do a Control-C. This will kill the currently running process, and we can view a little bit of what snort has been doing. Now that the process has been stopped, it says that it has received and analyzed 533 packets. I have a 100% analyzation rate. If you do not get that 100% analyzation rate, then you will not be capturing and analyzing all of the packets going across your network. At this point, you can team two machines together to overcome that. However, that's a little outside of this tutorial. As you can see, I had 530 of those come across my Ethernet port. Obviously, I'm not communicating other way. And 530 of those were in the IPv4 format, with a little bit more being in the and then we break it down. We're going to look at the next portion. Go and mark these. This is the top portion that shows us overall. Here's what everything is. And then we can start looking. It says 17% of the traffic was UDP. 81% was TCP. Obviously, I was browsing websites. That's how many files I received with a bad checksum. Would I be worried about this? Not right now, but you do have all that information there. And then back down on the bottom, if we had specified rules for packets that can and cannot go across the wire, it would show me right here if we alert, logged, or passed any files on. The pass is to pass it to another machine for closer inspection if needed. And then we also have down here that I've allowed all of those packets. None of them met criteria that I had specified to kick it out. So obviously I do not have any blocked or blacklisted packets. And that is the end of my snort tutorial.